Shabbat Shalom. I'll try taking this out of the holder there for a second. Okay, so I know 2 weeks ago I talked about landing on the moon and the first man on the moon and all that, but it's been in the news a lot on the radio and in the TV, and I thought as I was listening to one of the astronauts today on the radio describe his experience of being in the moon and looking back at the Earth, and he held his thumb up in front of the Earth, and his thumb covered up the Earth. And he said all the things that are going on in the Earth, everything that was going on in 1969, 50 years ago today, he thought, wow, it's all just a small little thing out there in space. And he said every day after that, he'd look up, when he got back, he'd look up at the moon, the little sliver of the moon in the sky, and he never thought of the moon the same again because we had been there and come back. And so I couldn't help but think about some of our prayers, and I know this is odd, but I'm a rabbi, so I couldn't help but think about some of our prayers and how our ancestors, who lived 3,000 years ago, never even dreamed of going to the moon, actually, but they had the same kind of sense of awe and wonder at the world that we live in, and we sing some of those songs every Friday night, and we often just don't think about it. So I thought, if with your indulgence, I just want to take a look at a couple of the verses from those Psalms that I mentioned that we sing, that we begin at our Friday night service with. And as I do this, I want to ask three questions. Number one, what was the experience that the person who wrote this psalm, this song, what was the experience this person had that caused them to write these words? What drove them? What was the creative impulse, the energy that wanted them to write these words? The second thing that I want to ask is, so, all right, now we understand what they thought. What do we feel living 3,000 years later? How do we understand these words? How can we make sense of what our ancestor thought? And the third question, which I'm going to answer at the end, is, why the heck do we say these Psalms on Friday night? Okay, so let's start and take a look. I'm just going to look at a few verses because they're the only verses that we sing. So on page 11, we do Lechu Neranana, which means, let us go and sing to God. And then Naria Litzur Yeshenu, and I love the translation here, actually. I don't usually like the translation so much, but it's very interesting. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. So why do they use the verb trumpet? Because the word Naria comes from the same root as truah, which you probably recognize from Rosh Hashanah, because it's one of the three notes the shofar blasts on Rosh Hashanah, right? Tekiah, Teruah, Shivarim, right? So Teruah is the verb that's used here. Let us trumpet, or let us sing loudly like a trumpet. Let us make noise like a trumpet to our protector. And literally in Hebrew, it's Litzur Yishenu, which is the rock of our salvation, right? So the one who protects us. Let's sing aloud to the one who protects us. Nikadmav fanav bitodah. Let's come before him with thanks. We're going to come before him with thanks because we're living in such a magnificent world. Let's greet God, raising our voice in song, right? So what do you suppose gave rise to somebody wanting to sing praises and thanks to God? What was his experience in the world? He was seeing you, right? Or he was seeing the trees, or he was seeing the mountains, or he was seeing the clouds in the sky, or the rain, or he was seeing a great canyon in front of him. We're seeing the sea crashing against the shore, and he was amazed at the beauty and wonder of creation. He's saying, wow, we have to give thanks to the one who created this. It's so amazing. Okay, that's just one example. Let's take a look at the second example we sing, which is Yismechu HaShemayim. So our ancestors believed that the stars in heaven were like angels, like praising God. So Yismechu HaShemayim, the heavens rejoice. The heavens are glad. V'tagel ha'aretz, and so does the earth. The earth is also rejoicing. Yiram hayam, the sea in all its fullness roars. Okay, so clearly this guy was on the seashore in Israel, so the Mediterranean, watching the waves crash in on the Mediterranean beach in Tel Aviv or something, right? So Yiram hayam umlo'o, the sea is roaring in all the fullness there is. The whales are making noises, which we now know, right? All the sea creatures are making noises, and the meadows and all that grows in them exult. So maybe he's up in the Judean hills witnessing the beautiful trees there. Even the trees of the forest will sing praise as Adonai comes, right? And so again, he is exulting in nature. He's saying, this is such a beautiful planet. It's unbelievable. I can't believe that God created this whole place just for us. It's amazing. And so, of course, he's giving thanks to God. And the third one that we do is the Sabbath Psalm, as I mentioned, and it's on page 27. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, it is good to give thanks to God, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, and to give and to sing to your name in the high. Lahagid baboker chasdecha, to proclaim your love at daybreak and your faithfulness every night. I mean, every day the sun rises and gives us warmth and makes the plants grow and makes us happy and rejoice. And every night it's peaceful and we can see the stars in the sky and it's so beautiful at night. It's amazing. Every single day this happens. And so these are the experiences our ancestors had. Now we have a different experience. We're living in the 21st century, but I don't think in a way it's any different. We're still amazed. I mean, if you stop and think about it, it's amazing. When I was reading the Psalm just this afternoon, I was thinking, I've been to California. I have a friend who lives near the big redwood forests that we sing about in God Bless America, whatever, from the redwood forests, right? So I have a friend who actually lives right near those redwood forests, and you walk through the trees there, and they are about a football field tall. They're 30 feet in diameter. They're enormous trees, and it is an amazing sight to see these amazing redwood forests. Or you go to the ocean, you go to the beach, not Galveston so much necessarily, but if you go to the beaches in California, New York, and the East Coast, the West Coast, they're beautiful beaches, and you see the water crashing in and it's just an amazing sight, and you feel so calm and at peace and so on. We still feel these same feelings today that our ancestors felt so many years and centuries ago. Only now, we also have the astronaut's perspective. We can see the world as they saw it, as a little blue marble in the sky and this big sea of stars and space. And it's even more awesome and more amazing. So why do we say these Psalms? Why on Friday night? And the answer, of course, these Psalms were put together as part of our prayers by those Kabbalists, the mystical Jews who lived in Sfat in the 1500s. And their idea was every night we get together to pray, right? If you go to the chapel service here, every night you have an evening service. But you come in, you shuffle in, you do the prayer, you go home. Tonight, it's Friday night, and you want to pause, and you want to really reflect and think about creation. That's one of the great ideas of Shabbat. It's a moment to rest and to pause and to meditate and think. And we were just lighting the candles before, and I was thinking candles are a great meditation source because we have Rabbi Scholklapper here who's an expert meditator. You should take his classes and you'll learn how to do this better. But you can many people meditate by looking at candles, and of course we light candles every Friday night. We can meditate and calm our minds and thoughts and relax, take deep breaths, and just thank God for the beautiful life that we have and our friends and our family and everything that's around us. And that is the purpose of reciting these Psalms at the beginning. Now, not every week do I take a look at the Hebrew and I analyze it the way I did for you tonight. I mean, even though I'm a rabbi and I can translate it, I don't often think about it. Sometimes I'm just singing. But you know, I'm also married to a cantor. And I learned from my wife that music is just as important as the words. And sometimes the music can actually carry the emotion better than the words. So even if you're just getting into the words and you're just kind of singing along and you're thinking, wow, I'm happy to be alive and here with my friends and my congregation and I'm enjoying a Sabbath and a moment of rest, you're getting the idea and you're getting warmed up and you're getting ready for the Sabbath. And then, as we get to the Amidah, we remind ourselves right in the middle of the Amidah is Vayechulu Hashemayim, and God rested from all his creative acts, and he blessed the Sabbath day, and he said, this is a holy day. And we get to say that too thousands of years later. Shabbat Shalom.